guys, my name is Kelsey. Welcome back to another episode of the Launchpad. I am here with an amazing producer from Brazil. His name is Seth. His project is called Seth N Sound. Why don't you go ahead and say hi for us?
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Kelsey.
Of course, thank you for joining us. How's your day going today so far?
Uh, Great. I actually went to the dentist and my face is a little bit numb right now, so th I have that going for me.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even tell.
Oh yeah, I'm doing my best.
You're doing
Thank
amazing. You're doing wonderful.
you so much.
Awesome. Cool. So, I know right before we started recording, you mentioned you have a couple corgis, right? Do you have any other pets in the home with you?
No, but I trust me, those two are more than enough.
More than enough. I can only
Yeah,
imagine. I'm sure they're just a bundle of energy.
they are, and they're so different from each other. And it's funny because the other one is 2 years old, the youngest is 8 months, and the youngest is pretty much twice as big as the older one. So it's just really, but like she still feels like the little sister. So it's just very funny to see their interaction.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I bet they have a wonderful dynamic. Keeps the energy alive in the house.
Absolutely.
Do they get crazy in the studio at all while you're trying to make
Uh,
beats?
Honestly, right now my wife is traveling. She's spending 1 month in Brazil, and usually the dogs stay, around the house with her. Maybe if she's working at the office. But since she's out and it's just me and the dogs, I have no idea how much fun I'm having with them. So they just stay in the studio. It's the cutest thing, and I say that like they are my ghost producers.
Oh my gosh, they're your ghost producers. I love that. So speaking of ghost producing, you have a history in ghost producing. How did you transition from that into making your own project? Oh, speaking of animals, this is he'll be joining us for the rest of the interview, guys. Don't mind.
Stealing the show, stealing the show. Come on,
Oh my goodness, putting on the works, mister.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, anyways, back to ghost producing. So how did you transfer from that into starting your own project?
Well, so it took a long time because I think just like every other artist that have their own music out, I was just super hypercritical with myself. So I have my biggest idols that are Metallica, Pink Floyd, John Mayer, and Marion.
Oh, okay.
And for me, if I wasn't making music that made me as happy and energetic as the music that they made me feel, I wouldn't release it. And so
Okay.
for me, it took the longest time in order to find that one spot where I could be like, oh, okay, I got this. And I finally felt that December of last year. And I'm just so proud of myself because it was a long way coming. I've been doing this for since I was 16 on the producing side. So all more than 10 years now. So yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Awesome. Congratulations on really like finding that and like really honing in on what you wanted to do and really finding a sound for yourself.
Yes, wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the nicest thing is that is it I wouldn't say it's nice, but it's just funny. Usually I finish a song for an artist that I'm working with, and like sometimes if the artist is sitting with me, one day we can crack the track and then a couple more days to mix, master it, it's fine. My songs, I'm not kidding. I think the one that I just released called Given, that had more than 30 versions easily, and each version around 20 bounces of like, okay, maybe the hi-hat should be a little bit up or the kick, a little bit of saturation. So that one, I think I spent a solid 200 hours on it easily.
Oh my goodness, 200 hours. That is insane. That is some people's like months worth of like a regular job just put into one song. That is so
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So you're quite
And
the perfectionist to say the least.
yes, yes, exactly. So I do all my mixing, I do my mastering. Sometimes I send my songs for other master engineers and I with my master and I say, "Hey, do a better job than what I did." And but sometimes they send it back and it's out of like it's a matter of taste. Sometimes I just think mine sounded better or so forth. And so it takes a long time in order to just do everything. I do my top lining, I do write the lyrics, I find my own vocalist. So when I'm working with other artists, usually they arrive with some idea. They have a vocalist. They have like the vocals already recorded, and then just like writing camps. They send the songs to a bunch of artists. They get the song, they send it up to me, and then we make the song together, you know?
Wow, that's such an amazing process. So you started playing off guitar, and what really transferred you from an acoustic instrument into the electronic world?
Okay, so it was a very slow transition. I
Slow
said
transition.
I
Okay.
I said that was my transition phase.
Okay.
So I started as a guitar player when I was 12, and for me, rock and roll and metal and blues was everything. My brother was the electronic music head in the house, and if he put like OT, a stove playing, I would be like, "This is not music," and like put some Megadeth on, and I was the worst person possible. But then eventually in 2014, I went to my very first electronic music festival that my brother took me to.
Mhm.
And he was chasing a girl, funny enough, and I was with
Yeah.
him. And it was life changing. It was life changing because I've been to several rock and roll festivals, but it's different. It's and for all the boomers over there, they're like, I've had my fair share of Glastonbury's and download festival. No, it's completely different, completely different. So after that, I was 17. I moved to LA, 18 years old, and I remember arriving in the US. I actually graduated in music. I went to college for it, and as a guitar player. And I remember the very first day I saw myself by myself in another country. I said maybe I should buy a controller just to fuck with it, you know. And after a while, I decided that that was might have been a good idea, and I started realizing that more and more I was listening to electronic music instead of blues and funk and rock and roll. And I remember that already been in the studio as a session recording artist since I was 16. So I was fairly good with Logic and Pro Tools. But then a friend introduced me to Ableton and digital synthesizers and all of that. And what changed everything, like tipping point, was this Marion and Porter Robinson show, the Shelter tour that they did.
Oh,
And
so good. I love that tour.
I remember just being in the Uber with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and looking at her and saying, "This is what I want to do." Like literally scrap out the past 10 years of my life. This is what I want to do. And that was the biggest tipping point for me. And I remember it was really hard because I got actually super, super, super sick because I think my body kind of realized that it would be such a strong transformation in my life that I had like a huge fever. I couldn't get out of bed for 1 week, and I think a little bit of that was just the pressure of like telling all of these people in the industry that have been working for all this time that hey, I'm gonna stay in my computer the whole day and make beats now. So you know, and I was only 19 when that happened, so it was a lot of pressure. Me with myself, right? Anyways.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of do that as people. We put a lot more pressure on ourselves than everyone else does, and so we think when we're gonna do something, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you can't do that," but most of the time, everyone's just like, "Hey, good for you, man." And I can only hope that's what happened in your situation as well.
Well, I don't know where you are right now, but I live in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
When I first moved to the US, I lived in LA for almost 7 years. And this is one of these lessons that LA taught me. It's do you? People don't care. People have more important things to do than to care about your life. And even though Twitter and social media may seem like, oh, look at all these people that are going to judge me, etc., just do you and forget all this fog that is around you. So I think that was one of the biggest LA lessons that I was able to get when I was living over there.
That's definitely a lesson I've learned as well growing up. I think like at least in my early 20s, really just trying like on the journey to find yourself and really learning that everyone else is so busy trying to figure out their own life. Most of the time, no one's worried about what you're doing unless it's like directly impacting them. But for the most part, just do you, have fun, and don't worry about anybody else's opinion. Totally agree.
That was definitely a really important moment for me. And let's be honest, can't just Maddie and Porter Robinson do some more shows together?
Just one more shelter tour. Just one more, please.
Exactly.
Begging.
Like it doesn't even need to be like too many cities. I'll go to every single one of them. I am that type of fan. I've been to more than like 10 Madian shows and more than 10 Porter shows. It's there. Love them.
Oh my goodness. Sorry.
He's definitely stealing the show.
He's such an attention hog, and I get it. You're cute. You're the cutest little dude, but you need to chill. Please, thank you. Anyways, I definitely got a chance to see the shelter tour a couple times, and it was amazing every time. One of them, I don't know if Madion was here, but it was at EDC 2017. It definitely was Porter playing a lot of shelter songs. Um, and or sorry, it was Worlds. It was the Worlds tour. That's
World Tour. Oh,
the
yes.
Worlds tour. And so it was Porter at EDC 2017 at Cosmefeto, and me and my best friend were on the rails. That was a life-changing experience. And I feel like had I had like a musical background like you feel and like being able to have the tools to execute that inspiration definitely would have felt like a tipping point as well. So I can totally see that happening for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's so having the tools in order to execute is at the same time that it's a blessing. You feel like all this fulfillment of watching someone make the art that you wish you want to do. But at the same time, it can be very frustrating because your mind is always kind of working what's
Mhm.
going on with the music and etc. And I do remember my first years on electronic music where I was not pursuing it professionally, where there was this naiveness bliss
Mhm.
uh, that would surround me, and I would be able to go to shows and just be there, present for the music, for the energy. And nowadays, there's a little bit of work involved.
Mhm.
Even if I'm not working, even if there's no artists of my that I've worked with are DJing, playing, etc., there is a little bit of work like on the back of my mind, like, oh wait, where did he get that kick? Oh wow, how did like he or she synthesize that? There's always the fuses are always going off.
Mhm. Definitely. I have a few friends who are artists out here as well because I'm down in Phoenix, Arizona. So the scene out here is thriving. It's a wonderful time. And so I've talked to my friends who are artists and they say the same thing. They're like, there's this space as a fan where you just get to enjoy the music and the vibes and the fun. But once you get to this point of understanding the music, you hear it differently. You can break down every little sound. You're like, oh, I know where they got that sample from, or you do the same thing, or how would it sound if they pitched this up, or things like that. Like you completely just hear it differently. I totally get that.
Yes, yes. And I think I'm gonna give you like an example that it's super specific, but John Summit, he like his very first boom song was Deep End. And this is a song that it he got a sample from the internet that everyone had access to, but he just did it on a way that a lot of people liked it. And there was all this trash talk between producers, like, oh, he just flipped that one sample from the internet and etc. And they were all judging his success. And I remember just being in a conversation like that, and someone that had nothing to do with music and saying, we don't care, it's a good song, and he's actually a really good DJ. And we're like, oh yeah, that's true. It's just we, the producers, we create this like, oh, we need to be. I'm not gonna use presets. I'm gonna make my own samples. And at the end of the day, if you come up with something that resonates with people, there's art right there, and there's success. Something that I learned from moving from a third world country to the US and having that image of like people in LA being discovered while they were cutting their hair and etc. And I'm a manager. That doesn't happen. Like hard work happens in this country, and obviously there are some people that are on the right place, right time. That obviously happens, but most of them worked really hard to be on that right place on the right time. So kudos for John Summit for having the idea to flip that one sample.
Absolutely. And I think that's almost kind of the point of samples is here's something, now what can you do with it?
Yeah.
How can you spin it with your brain and give it your own sound? So I think I completely agree. I think, and it's a wonderful song too. It's a absolute bop if I do say so myself. So yeah, I totally am on your page with that. Totally vibe with that.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Ooh,
So
okay.
every time I work with a new artist, it's like very first time coming to the room, we're chit-chatting. I think the most important question I ask is if you were the talent buyer for your own festival. So your festival, you are the one saying this is artist one, two, three, and five. Who would be your picks?
Ooh, okay, okay.
Five artists.
So definitely one of my favorite producers. His name is Bijou. He's a bass house producer. He was a Phoenix local and really has taken off with his career. He is and a wonderful friend of mine. So he definitely gets a headlining slot for sure. Um, who else? Okay. Oh my gosh, there's so many to choose from. This is
So
such a hard option.
so
Um,
before you continue real quick, I
yes.
actually do the engineering for his label, Do Not Duplicate. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I do mixing and mastering for some of the artists that are in the label.
I love that. That's so amazing. I've
Yeah.
actually gotten to meet like it's so crazy how intertwined the EDM world is. I feel like everyone knows everyone knows everyone.
Yes.
Okay, who is another one? Oh my gosh. I feel like I'd have to say Zoo, but I'd want it to be a throwback set. It would have to be like OG type Zoo vibes. Just because his new sound really hasn't been like resonating with my heart. But
Okay.
I have a tattoo called Says Good Life because I
Oh, I
absolutely
love that.
that's one of my favorite songs by him that really just spoke to my soul on a different level. So if I could get a Zoo throwback set, definitely. And then I feel like I'd have to bring in like one of my up and coming homies. So definitely my friend Pat Riot. His real name is Nick, but I feel like I'd have to bring him up there with me and give him the light he deserves.
Any of
He's already
any of
getting.
the OGs?
What was that?
Any of the OGs?
Any of the OGs? Ooh, okay. So I feel like I'd have to be. It sounds so like main stage and basic, but I've never had the chance to see Martin Garrix. So I definitely would have to put Martin Garrix on there just so I could experience that once in my life.
So I actually saw Martin Garrix back in 2014 on the height of the Animals hype. Like,
I'm so jealous. Oh my goodness.
yeah, like, and he was, I was 17, I think he was 18 or 19, something like that. It was a really, really, really nice experience.
That
Uh,
is so that was
it's,
like my freshman year of high school, like right when I first started getting into like EDM world and big room
yeah,
house and stuff like that was kind of the pathway for me at least into that world.
I love it.
So
I love it. And I think it's funny that you mentioned Zoo right after Bijou because that's another artist that I work with the label from.
right on. Yes, we've
Great.
just been like running in the same circles and just like not crossing paths yet.
Most likely. Most likely. That's literally what's going on. But we finally met, so that's good.
I love it, honestly. I have a friend down, I think she's in Austin, Texas too. Her name, she's a content creator with the EDM community. Her name is Aid. Her brand is like Vibe with Aid, and I know she does a lot of work down there with the mostly like the house scene down there. So if you ever get a chance to run into her, she is a wonderful and beautiful human being as well.
Well, I would absolutely love to meet her because I feel I'm not kidding. The best people I've ever met are all from Texas, and I'm not saying this because I live here now. I've actually been to more than 20 states in the US already, and I can tell you that for some reason I always tend to gravitate to people from Texas. So
Really?
yeah, I went to Burning Man last year, and funny enough, I met some of the most interesting people in the world.
I think that's where the most interesting people in the world go to gather.
Yes, yes, and my three favorite people were all from Houston, Texas.
Oh my gosh, no way. That's so
And,
funny.
like just a a quick fun fact over here. One of them is a arms dealer for Raytheon, and the
Okay.
other one is a rocket engineer.
Oh,
So like crazy, crazy.
wow. That is
Yeah.
two opposite ends of the spectrum. I feel like that's one thing that's really awesome about festivals, like not just Burning Man, but like just all festivals in general really is that it really brings like all walks of life together. It can you can have a homeless person off the street who gathered up the change to go, and then you can have the wealthiest people in the world standing 5 feet apart from each other, dancing to the same music and just being in the same space, which normally doesn't exist. And I think that's a beautiful part about what we do.
Uh, Look, my best friend from Austin, he's the reason why I moved to Austin during the pandemic. My wife and I, we were just traveling places. I know that sounds a little bit wrong, I know, but like we are extremely healthy. We're taking all the precautions,
Yeah, if you do it right, then I really see no
and
problem.
like tickets from LAX were literally $5. Like, I paid $50 to go to Orlando. Crazy. Like from LAX, that doesn't happen. That really doesn't happen. So I remember at the end of 2020, this one friend of mine, I met him at a festival. That's the whole point of it. He kept telling me like, come to Austin, and then I finally did, and I remember being like, we're actually nice here. What's going on? And after like 1 month of table talk with my wife, like, oh, should we move to Austin? No, no. And then finally we were like, let's do it.
Why not? If the people are nicer and you feel like you can make some friends out there, I say it's worth the journey and worth the adventure.
So I think the biggest thing for me was that I was paying. I'm going to throw some numbers here. I'm sorry, because I think it's necessary. I was paying $3,000 for a two-bedroom apartment where one of the bedrooms was my studio, and right in front of the apartment building, I had counted the day that I left the building. It had 16 homeless tents right in front of it. So you left the parking, and that was it. Had 16. It got to a point that was so bad that it literally put a mailbox in it. I'm not kidding. It was absolutely bananas. So right now I live in a house. I'm paying 2/3 of that, and studio is in a converted garage from the landlords had converted for like a kids playroom, and I converted in the studio, and this is the size of my first apartment in LA. I'm not even kidding. I'm in the studio
Studio
right now.
right now is the size of your first apartment in
Yeah,
LA.
it is my first apartment in LA.
Oh
100%.
my goodness gracious. Yeah, I lived in California for a little bit and it was, I think I lasted 6 months before I had to tap out. It was so ridiculously overpriced. I was down in San Diego, but there also the homelessness problem was just out of control. It was, they just did not take care of their people. And in turn, it like led out into the rest of society. So I totally understand what you're saying.
So, every single time you see someone from Texas talking about California, they always talk about San Diego. It's
Hmm.
never LA, neither San Francisco. I think nobody talks about San Francisco nowadays unless you're like super deep into tech or something like that. But it's San Diego is a really nice city. It's a really nice city, and I remember being able to visit. It's just like a 2 hour drive if you're lucky, going down from LA.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you can make it without hitting that traffic like right there on the 15. Ooh.
oh yeah, then it can be easily a 4 hour drive, easily.
Yes.
Easily. Now I have another question for you.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I lived in LA. It's paradise weather, minus the fires and the pollution and etc. But like it's paradise weather all year long, pretty much. Sometimes you have a little bit too hot, but not more than a week.
Not horrid, yeah.
And then I moved to Austin. And Austin, we actually have the seasons over here. It snows once in the year. But here's the thing: the summer here is pretty brutal. We're experiencing like 102 right now. But I know that in Arizona it's like 110.
Yeah, on the radio today in my car, I heard the guy talking about it breaking 112 today. Um,
Goodness gracious.
and that's in Phoenix, right? But so where I grew up, it's this smaller town up in northwestern Arizona. It's called Bullhead City. It's literally middle of nowhere. And I had seen the summers when growing up hit 140 degrees. I saw it with my own eyeballs. Like it was the type of like you like see the memes from like old Reddit posts of people like cooking an egg on the hood of their car. You could do that. You could put cookies on a cookie sheet and put them in your windowsill and like shut your car doors and bake cookies. It was
Well,
real
well,
hot.
I bet that's absolutely crazy. Uh, yeah, so I was not expecting it would be this hot in Austin. But at the same time, this is my third summer over here. So
You get
first
used to it.
summer, you complain. The second summer, you're like, "Oh, can't believe it's summer again." And then this summer, I'm like, fuck it, I'm here. I'm up
You're like,
for it. Let's go to the lake every day. I don't care, you know?
literally, swear to God.
So you didn't tell me your very last artist from your dream festival.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it was Pat Riot, who is one of my local friends out here. His name is Nick, so I definitely would throw him on there. And then I also feel okay. And then I feel like this is like now it's like a really male dominated lineup, so I really need to think of like a female artist that I really like. Ooh, okay. Definitely Blossom. Again, Phoenix local. Love her to
Mhm.
death. She makes amazing music, like house, a little bit of drum and bass. Zingara, she is an amazing artist. She does like this weird, wonky, experimental, spiritual bass type stuff. Oh my gosh, she is good. Ooh, also, I just wrote an article for my friend. His name or his artist name is Dice, but his identity is anonymous. I almost gave out his real name. But he's trying to remain anonymous. So him and this girl Allie, her DJ name is Allie's Son, and I kind of heard of her, but I never actually like delved into her music up until like me writing this article for their song that's coming out on Friday. And her music is so good. It's this like deep, dark kind of like tech house, but it's good. So definitely would have to throw Allie's Son up on there too.
Okay, yeah, I love it. I love it. I really like that you didn't go to, the big top-notch artist and you made sure to pick your friends along the way. It's very thoughtful of you, and I love it because you would never hear that answer from a musician. Like the musician would be like, I would get Daft Punk and Justice, of course,
Obviously, like who else, bro?
obviously, Uh, uh,
What about you? What's your top five? Who would you bring in?
okay, so let's start with the King Madion. I would bring Madion
Obviously.
as the very first one. The I Even though Madion is my favorite producer, that's the one that I resonate the most with the music. I think the greatest electronic music producer of all time is Calvin Harris.
Wonderful opinion.
I think Calvin Harris cracked the formula for pop music and being unique on his own way. And especially now, this latest single with Ali Golding, no one
Oh
was
my
expecting that.
gosh.
No one was
Oh my
expecting that.
gosh, it's so good.
No one, no one. Funk Wave Bounces Volume One is the like that album and Adventure by Marion are the two albums that I've listened the most on my Spotify like ever. That's the top two over there, and they're always fighting with each other. So Calvin Harris two. Uh, I would say Flume. Flume had a
Oh,
big
oh man. Oh,
influence.
I should have put Flume on mine. I love Flume. Dang it.
Yeah, Flume had a really big influence on me. Uh, Zed for sure. I love Zed, and Zed it became to me like one of those sets that if he's in a festival, I have to see him because I know all the songs. I'm gonna be jumping. I'm gonna be happy. Like even if I'm not even drunk, I'm gonna have the best time at his sets. So
Absolutely.
for sure I have to put Zad on it, and I'm gonna do 5.5. Okay, just because
Okay,
I have
deal.
a different side. Disclosure.
Ooh.
Disclosure. So there's definitely a lot of Disclosure influence on the my latest single Given. It's very kind of it's most people say like it's a mixture of Zad and Disclosure, which trust me, every time people said that, my ego just
You're like, yeah, I did it.
yes, yes. And okay, and my additional one, my bonus artist would be Eric Pritz.
Ooh, okay. I heard his laser show is, or is it a holographic show? I've never really
Hello.
been
Yeah.
super deep into Eric Prydz, but I've heard his production just in general is absolutely insane.
So Eric Pritz fans are like the Grateful Dead fans of electronic music.
Okay,
So the
nice.
Pritz fans, they follow him all over the world. They go to all of his shows. He has different editions of his shows at his Ibiza residency every year. So I've met people at Eric Pritz's shows that have been up to more than 50, like not even kidding. And it was not one, it was not two, it was several people that just follow him everywhere.
Holy Hannah. Would you say that's one of your goals as an artist is to create like an intense, insane following like that as well? Just not for the fame, not to be followed, but just based off of like you want to move that many people.
So, there you go. So that very last phrase that you said, that's what resonates to me the most because uh I remember moments that I'm listening to music just by myself because it's a challenge that I do with people sometimes. Listening to music, just that. Not listening to music in the car, listening to music while you make your coffee, listening to no, actually stopping what you're doing to listen to music. And I remember having moments when doing that where this explosion of emotion that the only thing that I wanted for my career was for people to feel the same way that I was feeling with the music that I was listening to. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. I don't have the I would say obviously I have the intention of reaching as many people as possible, but in my head it was never like, oh, I want to be a like Ariana Grande level or something like that. For me, it was always like, okay, can people have this cherish the same feeling with my music than I cherish with them, So that's it.
Well, I definitely gave a couple of your tracks a listen, and I was vibing super hard. Like I added them straight to my playlist. I was like, I am digging this.
Well,
So I
thank
can say
you.
you definitely at least made my heart happy with what you've done so far. And I know
Thank
you
you.
said you're gonna be releasing some music at least once a month throughout the end of the year. So I cannot wait to see what else comes from you.
Well, thank you so much. Actually, right in front of me, I have the session for the my next release because tomorrow I'm submitting it and I haven't decided on the master yet. So
Oh boy.
I'm just going on for like 25 different versions. Like the kick sounds better on this one, I guess. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I'm doing my best to be one track at a month, and keep feeding the social media and everyone with fun stuff and with music because I feel like right now I've never been happier in my life, and I think that's the most important thing.
I was just gonna say, I feel like with everything that we do in our lives, being happy is the number one goal. And I feel like that has to be such a weight lifted off your shoulders after making such a big pivot in your life and such a big transition to come out on the other side of this so successful and so happy.
Yes, especially because whether or not, even though some of the tracks I've worked on had millions of streams,
Mhm.
uh when it's your name, it's you, it's there, it's like, hey, this is me, judge me, it's completely different. It's completely,
Yeah.
I don't feel like me, so having Far Away, my very first single, get reaching 100,000 streams in just a couple of months was really mind-blowing, and I'm really happy with it. So if you're a fan and you're listening, thank you so much for streaming the songs, and I promise I'm gonna keep you happy by releasing more and more songs.
I appreciate that. I'm really excited to see where your project goes. Hopefully there's a tour in the future and you can
Oh,
get down
absolutely.
here to Arizona. I know some people. We could make something happen.
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. We got the venues down here are awesome. We got Sun Bar, Dark Star, Cobra Arcade Bar. What's another one? Why can't I think? There's definitely more. Ooh, Walter Warehouse and Walter Studios. There are so many good venues out here. And that's a
I want
really
to do
big
all of
reason.
them.
Oh, yeah, literally we can get you booked in all of them. Let's go.
I want to do all of them. Performing is one of my biggest passions.
Okay, so I've had a wonderful time talking with you, Seth. But before we go, one thing we like to ask here at Moon Landing is what is something that you are grateful for?
Uh, I think I've discovered what I wanted to do for the rest of my life very early.
Ooh,
I remember I was 10 when I first told my parents that I wanted to move to the United States. And I remember I was 12 when I told them that I was going to be a musician. So especially now that most of my friends are on their mid 30s, some on their 40s, it's very fascinating to see that so many of them, you know, they have careers, have been working their whole lives, but they still haven't found exactly what they love. and it's a conversation that it's almost hard to have because I'm like, I can't relate, so that's something that I'm super grateful for sure. Number one thing that I'm grateful for, and I can obviously list, my family, health, and etc. But I think that's the one that comes to mind.
No, I definitely think I like that that's different because obviously we're all grateful for our friends, our family, our support. Think like we've all heard that one before, but that definitely is a new one. I really like hearing that, especially as someone who still is trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. To know at such an early age definitely has to have given you a peace of mind just right from the start, just that confidence to move forward with everything that you do.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, at the same time, people need to remember that knowing what you love from an early age, it's not the only thing in order to pursue it. Pursuing it is a completely different thing, right? Because if it was for the amount of times that I've heard that I would be poor as a musician, that I would not be able to feed my family and etc. Growing up, being mocked by, my dad's friends and etc., I would have stopped along the way. But the passion was there and the drive was there. So that's what made me come to the US and study and be here right now talking to you.
That's so awesome. Wow, I really love to hear it. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today. I've had a wonderful time. I really hope we get a chance to talk again, truthfully. Hopefully in the future, I want to catch up with you and see, like maybe in the next year or so, just see where you are and where this project's taken off and like what you're up to. And I definitely want to get you out
Absolutely.
here to Arizona for sure. We
Look,
can make it happen 100%.
I would love to do a show in Arizona. I Some of the best people I met at festivals were from Arizona. So, but I've never been to a festival in Arizona, so I would actually love to be there.
Oh, well, if you're not doing anything, oh, when is it? I believe it's either in October or November. We got a festival called Gold Rush coming up. It's like cowboy themed, like neon cowboys or something like that.
All right. Yeah, I have a few hats.
Okay, absolutely. Then we'll see you out here for sure. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Seth. I hope you have a great
Thank you so
day
much,
and we'll
guys.
see you
Thank you
later.
so much for having me.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.